a lot of people said Atiku Abubakar was the problem, and he insisted on running in 2003 against the spirit of zoning. Now he has resigned from the party. What will it mean for?
If you ask many of our members, they will say we're quietly answered prayer. Because really, there's absolutely nothing else we have done to show that we are brothers with Vice President Atiku. He left in 2014 to go and form the APC with other people. He was back to us before to end. He requested for the ticket of the party. 2019, you remember who was our candidate? He was the candidate. He didn't have it. In 2023, we said, now look.
No, he was a candidate in 2019.
Yeah, that's why we gave him. That's why I said people were so nice to him. And in 2023, we now said, he honored me. I called a meeting in my house, being one of the founding fathers that most of them respect. Because most of the other founding fathers, Dr. Ekweme, Chief Solomon La, Elijah Adamochiroma, Elijah Bakarimi, so many have all gone. So many of them still respect because of the voice and the secretary of the founding man. I called him, he came. And I called Governor Wike then in Port Harcourt. And to be fair to both of them, they honored me. They came to my small house. And I requested, and I said, look, Nigerians expect the PDP to win this election. Because to be fair, in the 8 years of, well, he's passed on now, we don't want to say, not much was happening. Nigerians were expecting the vibrancy of the PDP. So let's resolve this matter so that we win this election and we'll be in government. Believe you me, they agreed. When they went back...
What was the agreement?
The agreement was that, look, sincerely, we have to respect the convention. Otherwise, sincerely, this thing should have initially actually gone to the South. But now you won the primaries, the convention, you've been elected. We respect the will of the people. Why wouldn't you now take this other person who was a very, very active, very, very vibrant person as your running mate? He said it was too late. So he said now, and for Governor Wike, believe me, to be fair to him, he now said, look, okay, what will I go and tell my people? Let the chairmanship then come to the South, which is fair. And so they all agreed to set up a committee of 14, 7 from both sides. Believe me, both of them did. I remember the governor of Adamawa was nominated by Atiku to be the chairman of his 7 men. Mimiko, the former governor of Ondo, was nominated by Wike to be the chairperson of the 7. And the 14 of them met. They met here in Abuja. They met in Port Harcourt. And they reached agreement how to resolve the matter properly. When they finished, that time, Atiku had already gone to a meeting in London. They followed him and gave him a report. And they reached an agreement, believe me, solidly. And coming back to Nigeria, I don't want to go for it because...
So that agreement wasn't implemented.
That was why the so-called G5, they were annoyed. Because they have done everything. And so some of us were sympathetic because we believed that ab initio, the candidature for the party's presidential candidate in 2023, after 8 years being up here, should have gone to the South.
I recall what Atiku Abubakar said then. He made a post on some of his social media handles that he has no problem of zoning to the South, but it must be zoned to the Southeast. That if it's zoned to the Southeast today, that same day he will drop his ambition.
First of all, zone to the South. The South will sit and the micro zone. That's what we'll do. Even when the chairmanship was zoned up here, it was zoned to the North. We sat together in the North, and it was micro-zoned to the...
Perhaps his fear was that it was going to be hijacked.
No.
Some other interests.
The southern interests were very powerful. I remember all the 17 or 18 governors of the South met. The last meeting they had was in Asaba. I remember very, very well.
Yes.
With the person who even became his vice presidential candidate. And they resolved that the candidate this time should be from the South. All right? Part of the thing that we said, no. To be honorable, he shouldn't even have accepted anything on that ticket. Because it was under
He even accepted when he defected to the APC that it was a wrong move.
So now, after he had damaged the
position.
Yeah? You say what?
I said he agreed by himself that
but it's
him becoming
the damage
a vice president was...
he should have listened to us at the right time. Well. Because we were telling her, look, Nigerians are watching us. Fair is fair. This is the time. You people, when you people sat in Asaba, most of us agreed that yes, it is your turn. But suddenly, You now became vice president to another country. No, they shouldn't have done that. None of you should have accepted it. But now he has seen it. What I'm saying now, I wish he did in 20, would have been in government today. The person we are talking about, they have done well.
There are reports that PDP is reaching out to Peter Obi.
Yes, why not? He was our member. In fact, if I were Vice President Atiku, I would have, in 2023, I would have said, now, Peter, you were my vice president at that time. Now, I'll support you. You would have been a statesman. You know, Peter is good. There are other good people.
What level of contact have you had with Peter Obi, for instance?
Not for now, because I'm still, I'm the leader of the delegation. But I've met people, I've met him, and I've met people, you know, that are going to be the people he will refer to. And I've sat with them for hours, and we're moving step by step.
What kind
we're
of
moving step by step, but that's not the only person.
Them, yeah.
That's not the only person. We're also going to other places, but I don't want to announce before we really get there. They gave me an assignment. When I met them initially, they said, look, get the platform. That's why you started. The platform was too noisy. Get it right. And I'm moving. Yesterday, we had a fantastic neck, and I was so happy, because the next thing now is the convention at Ibadan in November. We'll do it very, very well. So I have a very solid platform. I can now go back to these people to say, look, we're set. The platform you are complaining about is now set, is now organized, is now proper, is now ready, is ready to move. And I know many of them will respond. So we're not just looking at one person. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, you know, even more. You know, the South is full of talents.
Okay, now let's quickly take a look.
The South is full of talents,
Yes.
agree with me. Because we provide a credible alternative to what is happening. I'm not saying the president, you know, the current APC, no, he's doing his best. But if you compare with our record, it's far, oh my God. The exchange, just check the exchange rate. Exchange rate during Jonathan, what was it? It's now 760% higher. And that one has changed the whole reality in Nigeria. Things are so expensive. People are not able to live. Things are so harsh. That's alone. You know, economy is the most powerful gauge. And believe you me, on that one, they will find it very difficult. It's a reality.
So the campaign will be based more on the performance of the economy.
On issues.
Okay, let's take a look at
security and economy.
Okay,
Those
two key issues. From our social media handle, our X feed to be specific, we have at least one conscious one says, I want to specifically appreciate Professor Jerry Gana for initiating the meeting of the founding fathers of PDP.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
However, we expect the party to achieve consensus, to activate rather consensus to the southeast, which in my view remains the most loyal zone to the PDP.
So that's where we are coming. You know, the thing that I want to take this opportunity to really thank our great people in the Southeast for being patient, because I met their leaders, and many of them were there yesterday. The founding fathers set up a very important ideal, is that if we are to rule the country, we must be law-abiding. We must obey the rule of law. And even if you don't like a court ruling, once the court has ruled, you obey. The Supreme Court ruled. And once they ruled, we have to obey. Because we interpreted it one way, but we also went to the person that should interpret it and be the overseer, that's INEC. And their own interpretation was that unless this person is the secretary, you have no secretary because the Supreme Court has already ruled. And we say, now look, we are now in a tight corner. Because if we don't convene the NEC properly,
there'll be no NEC, there'll be no national convention.
So we want to assure the South, we can't forget, they've sacrificed tremendously, we're moving on. They will smile.
If Peter Obi simply just engages these 5 options, even if nothing comes out of it, it will serve as a deterrence. What are these 5 options? Number 1, Peter Obi must do a petition to the Inspector General of Police. He must do a petition. It is not enough that we come on social media to vent, to do a pushback. I appreciate it, it's a wonderful thing, but it is not sufficient to do the deterrence. Because if we understand the aim of the impunity, we will know and see that simply coming on social media to do a pushback is insufficient. What is the aim? Before we come back to the options. The aim is to strike fear. It is a psychological warfare that the APC, that the Tinubu rigging machine, quote and unquote, have set in motion. It's a psychological warfare to strike fear into the hearts of Nigerians, to make it appear as though the APC or Tinubu and his boys have a monopoly of violence. And why is this important? They understand if people perceive that the elections of 2027 will be violent, they will simply not come out in the election. And that gives birth to voter apathy, which is also another very massive ingredient for rigging an election. So if we understand this, you'll see that we need to counter that psychological warfare. We need to counter this impunity with legal actions. When I say legal actions, not necessarily lawsuit, actions that are backed by law. And number one of it is Peter Obi must write a petition to the IGP, Inspector General of Police, to the Nigerian Police. He must write it. This is not about whether or not the IGP will do something or not do anything. It is very likely, as we have seen now, the IGP, the police, DSS, security agencies have been silent. Normally, if this were an opposition voice, they would have swung into action. It is after they have arrested the person that we will be hearing about it. But since it is their own person, it is becoming very clear that even the police is now partisan. But we cannot just leave it at that. We must prove it. We must test whether or not they will come out to say they are partisan. Then we will know we don't have a country. So simply writing a petition to the Inspector General of Police on this matter is a win. It is a deterrence. That's number one. Peter Obi, number two, must do a petition to the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal. What the governor did, what the Edo APC chairman did, what the commissioner did, they are gross violations of the Constitution of Nigeria, and they are also gross violation of the Code of Conduct for public officers in Nigeria. And so, if Peter Obi lets this slide, yes, the Code of Conduct Tribunal is not a Father Christmas. They can't give what is not before it. Then it will simply mean that you have allowed impunity to grow wings. And very soon, it will begin to fly roughshod all over us. So number two, Peter Obi must do a petition to the Code of Conduct Bureau and institute a case at the Code of Conduct Tribunal against the governor. You see, right now, he has immunity. But you see, if his case is successful at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Governor Monday Okpebholo can be banned from running for a second term. Now, even if he doesn't get that judgment, the simple fact that this case is brought to the Code of Conduct Tribunal is a win for Peter Obi and for democracy, and it will serve as a deterrence for impunity in Nigeria. That's number two. Number three, Peter Obi must approach the Federal High Court in Edo State to seek an enforcement of his fundamental human rights. We have seen what the governor said. It was a campaign-style rally, and in fact, it was a rally, a campaign rally. And the governor said what he said. Even though the governor, through his aide, has come out to say, oh, they quoted me out of context. Take that video as evidence and use it to file a fundamental rights enforcement action, even claiming damages against the governor. Even if nothing comes out of it, simply filing that fundamental rights action is a win. It will serve as deterrence to impunity in Nigeria. That's number three. Number four, they are doing all of this because of local government elections. And what the APC state chairman of Edo State did is a gross violation of provisions in the Electoral Act 2022. It is, in fact, electoral offense, and the punishments there are prescribed. So if Peter Obi allows this to slide, what the governor said, what the commissioner said, what the APC state chairman in Edo State said, it will be feeding impunity fat. It will be providing a fertile ground for successful rigging of elections, not only in Edo State, but in 2027. So Peter Obi, number 4, must approach INEC and file an official complaint against INEC for the actions of the APC state chairman in Edo State, so that he can also be banned. Number 5, this may sound far-fetched, but there is power of black and white, and we Nigerians must realize this. It may sound far-fetched, but Peter Obi can write an official protest letter calling on the Edo State House of Assembly to begin impeachment procedure against the governor of Edo State for gross violation of the Constitution. Yes, you may say nothing will come out of it, but it will be for the record. And the fact that Peter Obi simply writes that letter to the Edo State House of Assembly, pointing them in a direction that they don't want to turn their eye to, in the direction of the violation of the Constitution, which constitutes gross misconduct on the part of the governor of Edo State, that letter alone, simply writing it, will serve as a deterrence. And then, of course, if properly worded with the right prayers, this Edo State House of Assembly is bound to reply. And we will see where they will hide. Because really, constitutionally speaking, legally speaking, there is nowhere for the governor to hide. Forget all of the explanation that is trying to pay. But you see, these 5 options, if engaged, simply engaging them, is a win for democracy. It will serve as deterrence to impunity in 2027. It will serve as deterrence to rigging in 2027. Again, let me remind you, the reason governors are decamping to the APC is to secure Tinubu's rigging protection in 2027. So if any candidate is serious about defeating Tinubu and getting sworn in, that candidate must plan to counter rigging. Because defeating Tinubu is the easy thing. Getting sworn in, that is where the problem is. Peter Obi, in my opinion, defeated Tinubu in 2023. But is Peter Obi sworn in today? The answer is there for you and I to see. Because we know who the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is. It is Tinubu. In fact, he has even bragged about it, that we can talk all we want. He is the president. He will preempt us. He has bragged about that when he was in Benue. And it's something he always says. So defeating Tinubu, that is the easy part. Even though that can only happen in a free and fair election. But you see, getting sworn in, that's where the difficult part is. And any candidate that will defeat Tinubu and be sworn in must plan for rigging. Not plan to join the rigging, because you cannot out-rig Tinubu. It is planning to prevent the rigging that candidates should focus on. And I say it again to Peter Obi and anybody who cares to listen. It doesn't matter whether there is a coalition, whether Peter Obi is in coalition or he gets the ticket for the coalition. Whether Peter Obi is in a coalition or Peter Obi acts alone, if the election of 2027 is rigged, Tinubu continues beyond 2027 as the president of Nigeria. There is nothing the coalition can do if it is planning to rig out Tinubu. You can't rig out Tinubu. The reason why 2015 happened was because you had a Jonathan that was willing to give some element of free hand to INEC to behave the way they wanted. That is not the case with Tinubu. In 2015, you had something that looked like free and fair election. The signs we are seeing does not indicate that 2027, Tinubu intends to allow INEC to conduct free and fair elections. So I say again, anybody seeking to counter and unseat Tinubu in 2027 through the ballot can only do so by planning to counter and stopping and totally eliminating rigging. And there are ways to do that. We have solutions. The solutions cannot be dependent on the people that are responsible for the rigging in the first place. This is why I am skeptical about electoral reforms. Because you don't expect an Akpabio. I don't know. Do you expect an Akpabio to reform himself out of power? Do you? We saw what they did before they even gave us the 2022 Electoral Act. In fact, it was direct primaries that was there. They manipulated it and put indirect and put consensus in there. So many things that they did. Because they didn't want to reform themselves out of power. The Electoral Act 2022 is supposed to be the Electoral Act 2018. But Buhari refused to sign it because he didn't want to reform himself out of power. After he has gotten his second term, he now allowed what we saw as the Electoral Act in 2022. So with that in mind, do you really think that an Akpabio will want to reform himself out of power, or a Tinubu will want to reform himself out of power? Electoral Act is good. It is a way forward. But I say this, even if by some miracle the Electoral Act somehow passes and we have mandatory electronic transmission, collation of results from the polling unit straight to the website for all Nigerians to see in real time, even if you have that Electoral Act, do you trust that INEC will not come up with some magic, with some glitch? So if anybody is serious about countering rigging in 2027 and ensuring that the elections are free and fair and transparent, then there must be people-powered solution. That is where Project Eagle comes in. We must all unite behind Project Eagle. If not, it will be business as usual. They will rig us out and then we'll come crying, calling on international community that are actually the ones enabling the rigging behind the scenes. Calling on this, calling on that, whipping and saying all lies on judiciary. Judiciary is dead. Look, I don't want to cry after the 2027 elections. And so that is why I am talking about solutions that can prevent rigging. That is what any sane politician should be thinking about now. How do we prevent rigging? We have the solution. Project Eagle. People-powered, real-time election result monitoring. Collation, transmission from polling unit, real-time. Before INEC gets the time to rig, we have put the results out there. We have the right, the constitutional backing to do so. We as citizens may not have the right to declare a winner. Yes, only INEC has the power to declare a winner. But we as citizens of Nigeria, we have the right to collate the results that we collected from the polling unit and to present it to the public to see. We have that right. And that is why we came up and we have developed Election Watch. But we need polling unit marshals, at least 3 per polling unit, to volunteer to work this application and to make the election of 2027 really transparent. On top of that, we have Election Guard. Camp Guard that will help us capture evidence. And then on top of that, we have Well Fund, we have Law Patrol, and then we have the best of them all, Abundance Party. So please, let's get serious about stopping election rigging. That is where our focus should be. We cannot allow impunity to go unanswered. The incidents with Edo State Governor and his aide and the APC state chairman in Edo State is a threat to free and fair election in 2027. I don't see now. I'm looking ahead. The same thing the governor of Benue did, the same thing Phyllis Monka did. If we do not respond through legally acceptable channels and means, more of this will come. And we may think that we are battling it in the social media, but you see, they are winning the psychological warfare for the hearts and minds of Nigeria. And that is where the real danger is. We must not allow it. Actions must be taken. The 5 options must be explored, must be explored by Peter Obi. And then join us to prevent rigging in 2027. Details are in the description below. Give us your contributions too. Let's work together on this.